All right, we're going to start with an informal discussion because all of you came out and are here, and I would be, I think, not cool to have some sort of informal discussion tonight.
It's being recorded now.
I think we're being recorded. I'm not sure. And so I thought that a good way to go would be to use tonight as a way to dig a little bit deeper into some of the stuff we talked about last time, but in a way that allows us to really acknowledge the role of the group that we're part of here. And Holyoke is going to go through a long process. And we're just we're 0 or 1 in that process and out to 100 or something like that. And so just as a subtle way to kind of move things along.
Can I just make a quick announcement?
Sure.
Microphone so everyone can hear me and the recording. So hi, I just want to let everyone know that in our last school committee meeting, we did make an offer for Mr. Soto to stay on as our interim superintendent while we go through a search process. And he did accept that pending negotiations for his contract. So just to be transparent, I just wanted to let all of you know that we have a plan in place while we go through a search so we don't do a rushed one and we can be thoughtful.
She took some of my stuff, but that's all good. No, I'm not involved with the superintendent part, so I was going to say that I knew they did that, and that gives us a little bit more breathing room to get some things done, and it gives us a little more breathing room to talk, which I think is the key to all of this anyway. So just as just as a reminder that this is the community advisory team. The idea is to provide input, provide feedback, provide information back to the school committee as to how things are going to go forward. We're not the final arbiter. We don't do the final interviews. We don't set up job interviews or anything else. We're here to try to gather as much information from this group first, and then there'll be 3 more meetings of this group, and then there's going to be 2 public forums in which we're trying to bring in as much information as we can in, and we're trying to report that information out in not so much as a, here's what you have to do, but here's what people want you to do. Here's the direction people want you to go in. And in that sense, the goal is therefore to provide information. And the vision is that this will then integrate into whatever Holyoke chooses to do as it goes through the next step. So I don't pretend to know the details of the next step. I know at school committee they did a whole map out session of how long this could take and steps that had to be taken, and that was all done before them. That is not. We have the fortunate piece of being involved with the less formal part of actually just looking at information. And so the action items for us are all based in discussion. They're all based in what direction can we go in, what direction should we go in, and I'm intentionally using that word we. I'm part of you trying to help you get through this and trying to do the next pieces. I don't pretend to know all the details of Holyoke because I don't. I don't pretend to have all the answers because I certainly don't have that. But what I know I can do is get people to talk to each other. And that's what we're going to try to do this evening in a way that is structured but also formal. And I know that we went over some of the things, but there are some really key questions that have to be answered in terms of what Holyoke is going to do. And there are 2 really simple questions that have to be answered, and it really seems almost small, but they're big questions. And we're not answering that. See, I had that all set up in my mind. So no, two simple but big questions. What does the Holyoke public school system do well? And what does the Holyoke public school system need to do to improve? We have one more on screen here, so I think we made it. I think we just made it to quorum. So I'm going to do it as positive and then the challenges. And so Ira's going to help me. This is Ira Brzezinski. He zoomed in last time, and he's going to help me. I didn't want to put on a big thing with whiteboards and stickers. Everybody's gone through enough whiteboards and stickers that you take the stickers home with you. You can put them on my boot if you want to, whatever. So I just thought it would be really important in the most basic ways possible to first try to have a discussion about what you think Holyoke does really well, does well as a district, what it tries to do as a district to accommodate. And then I want to flip that and say, not what sucks, but what aren't you doing well? What isn't working? What needs to be improved? What would be a really beneficial change to put in place while we're making this change from the receivership? This is an opportunity for change for the city, and I think it could be used that way if the right information works through the system. So we're going to take down information. We're going to have the information that flows out of this because we get a recording of it, so we can use that to build off of. I'm going to need a couple guinea pigs to start this discussion, and I'm really hoping that what we have is a thoughtful discussion about what works well. Somebody says what works well, and then we let somebody else build on that and somebody else build on that. Don't be afraid to speak. I'd like to stick to what works well first, then talk about what the challenges are. That way we can integrate them together better later. And I would also like to make sure that you know, feel free to talk and feel free to make your points, because that's what this environment is for, so other people can react to you. They may have a completely opposite experience of what you had in the schools, and that's valid too, because they may have had a different teacher, different principal, whatever. So all those things are valid. So I'm going to start with, what do you think Holyoke does well? And we're going to listen and let people talk.
Eric, you can hear me. Yeah. Before that, is there anybody that's new from the last meeting that maybe
did anybody come?
just introduce themselves?
Everybody looked pretty familiar to me from the last time, I thought.
Somebody online?
Well, we have Gabrielle from the Great Schools Partnership. She's listening in today, and she will be here at the next meeting, and other people from Great Schools will be here. I don't think there's anybody else listening in that we didn't meet last time.
So I think what Holyoke does well is we have some of the most dedicated teachers and staff that I know of, and they are always working to improve their practice, and they are completely committed to our students.
That is a great place to start.
One thing that that is different, and so I guess this is a bad, but it's turned into a good. For many, many, many years, Holyoke would get curriculums and use them for a couple of years and then throw them out the door. But they now seem to be a little bit more committed to the curriculums that we're using in the schools.
It's got to be more than two of you. Who's going to go next, or I can point fingers too. I can do that.
While we're going through this, I'm going to just pass around a pad of paper. If you wouldn't mind just putting your name
Oh no, we got.
on there. Oh,
Didn't it go around? Yeah.
Never mind.
All right, I'm gonna use the. Oh, go ahead.
Our district has a lot of strong partnerships to provide early college experiences for our students, and to provide work-based learning experience to the students.
Absolutely.
We're one of few districts in this part of the state that has a full dual language offering all the way through grade 12, soon to be grade 12, right now through grade 10. A commitment to diversifying the HPS staff, and has been advancing that commitment in the right direction for several years.
All right, I'm going to do it the hard way then. I'm going to start over here.
Anna actually took one of my ideas about the college opportunities, and just the focus on preparing them for the world after school is great, whether it's college or work or, like you said, one of the trades, but also the diversity and just creating spaces like this for parents to come. District Parent Advisory Committee, which Ira and I have been on for a few years, even through receivership. I felt like that committee has been a great place for us to have access to, first the receiver when it was Dr. Dreich, and now Dr. Soto. It's been a great place for us parents to go to him and have that connection, and it's open to anybody who wants to join. So parents need to take more advantage of committees like that and like this, but it's there for the parents who want to take advantage of it, which I appreciate.
Well, on my notes, I have diverse, well-prepared teacher workforce. I've seen a lot of teachers that come from different places, even from Puerto Rico. We have a pipeline of teachers that come from Puerto Rico, and they're very prepared, not only in the capacity of teaching, but also culturally speaking, to teach the kids that we have most of the population here in Holyoke. Connections to community organizations in the area. I've seen a strong connection to different organizations that provide a variety of direct services, so that way families are connected to what they need so they can be there for the kids. The dual language program, I think it's amazing to be able to have that opportunity, and to the grades that we do have it. I've seen other districts starting and not being consistent, but Holyoke has been very consistent with that. And then an organized system for English learners. I think that in what I've seen in other districts is that families don't understand what the English learners not program, but that aspect of the education when your first language is not English, why are the kids there and where are they going? I think Holyoke does a really good job explaining that to families and to students on why are you there and what you need to be able to get out of that. So I think those are the things that I have right now.
We're just gonna keep going right across here.
Who wants to go next? Well, I already went. So. Oh, okay.
So I think Anna and Josetta both said, Josetta, right? Both said the dual language, I think, is definitely something, the fact that it exists and has continued to exist. I think something, I don't know that it does it well, but in the sense, but I think that it's a small district, and so I think because it's small, it allows for a sense of community, and I feel like the superintendent, I don't know, I get the sense that there's a lot of sort of relationships from the top to sort of the bottom. I've worked in school districts with hundreds of schools where as a teacher, I didn't know the superintendent's name. I don't think he ever stepped up. And so I just think that the smallness of it is something that I think is really something that works for it. And to me, it's a positive, and I think that it allows for sort of a sense of community among all of the people who work and attend the district.
For me, is also the dual language. We started the dual language in Kelly School 4 years ago, and that was for the community on the flat, and that has been a great program for the community. Also, I think it's the last year and the year before, I think I was part of the committee to for the hiring process for teacher, and for me, being English language learner, a bilingual person, for people who doesn't speak the language, and being able to apply to our district that English is not their first language. I mean, that's, for me, that's huge. Like I said, I've been in the system for 27 years, and I mean, before we didn't have none of that, you know, so for me, that's something huge. Also, the connection between people from the school department with the community, that open communication, and I'm gonna say this, that who started that, it was Dr. Strike, who he threw himself into the community. For me, that was something huge. No one in those districts had done it before. Also making sure that he knew key person in each of those schools to build relationship. And the first time that he went to Kelly School, he knew who I was before for me to introduce myself to him. He knew, you're Mr. Vicente, and you're being in the school for that. I mean, like, he was very knowledgeable of the people that he was working in each of the schools. So that, for me, that was great. And also opening different committees for parents, for the community, So that's something that our district has done very well. Also, having the translation system, interpreters for families. So, and not only English and Spanish, like all different languages. Like we have people from all over, and we have a system. Parents can can come to the school and communicate with our staff through these interpreters. So which is something nice. So we still have a long way, but we are on our way to get there. So.
Something that I like in the Holyoke Public Schools is courses like ethnic studies, where they just like they show others more about cultural importance, and living in like in my opinion, living in a multicultural area, I feel like that's very important to like give other students like hope and like I don't really know, but like just empower them in a way.
I feel like Holyoke Schools has a lot of pride. Someone earlier talked about how we're a small community. I felt that when I moved here. I moved here 18 years ago, and I immediately felt like it was a community you could get to know. And you could find your place in it, and people were welcoming of you if you wanted to get involved. And I thought that was the coolest thing to be a part of. And I found that again and again in Holyoke. I think our teachers really care, and I feel as a parent and as someone who knows a lot of teachers in the city that people really have a shared commitment to diversity and to our community, and they really in many ways they're dealing with a lot. They're dealing with being underpaid, especially when, like, I grew up in Springfield. Holyoke teachers know they could go to Springfield and they could make 10 grand more, right? And that's hard. Right, as the people who are choosing to stay and teach in Holyoke are doing so because they believe in our community and they feel it deeply. And I think there is a shared sense of community amongst teachers who really know we believe in making sure that we're providing an excellent education to Holyoke students. I feel like there's great parent communication. I feel like parents get to know each other and really connect with each other. And I feel like teachers and schools in general are very responsive to parents. They want to respond. They want to support your kid. Places to grow. I think a lot of it is, I'm hoping to have a superintendent has a really clear instructional vision for really what good teaching and learning is, and really wants to move the needle on instruction, which is not the same as wanting a new curriculum, and really understanding that it's better to keep the curriculum you have and to really lean deep now that we've kind of made some of those changes towards the science of reading stuff. We've made a lot of those transformational changes already. Now we need someone who can really lean in and help teachers instructionally to get to a place of feeling really successful and impactful. And also someone budgetarily with some finesse who knows how to look at the budget and, like, for the best, bang for your buck, find a way to raise teacher pay and figure out how to support us to have even more interventionists, particularly in elementary and also middle, because we forget that we're getting middle schoolers too that are still reading in grade 1, grade 2. And we can't just have interventionists in elementary school. We have to have them in middle school so that we're getting them then and making the change. Because if they're where they're at in 9th, 10th grade, right, the data's never going to be on our side because there's just not enough time to make the changes that we have to make with kids. So, thank you.
I haven't been in the classroom for a number of years, but what I can address or look to is some of the outreach that affects the Holyoke Public School kids. For example, Donahue had a meal that they set up for, I'm assuming, parents and children. Another example of that is Ed Case and what he's done for outreach in the public schools. There's also donations that are taken at Dean for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, I believe. I think a lot of that happens in Holyoke. There's infinite amount that I could address, but I think that's a really important component to the school system.
Holyoke is committed, I think, to responding not only to the diversity of cultures in Holyoke, but I also think that Holyoke is committed to trying to bridge the gaps for our diverse group of learners in Holyoke as well.
I just want to add my praise to the dual language program. One of my grandchildren attended that program, and I was highly impressed. I'm also going to add some praise to the efforts in the district to advance multicultural education. And lastly, as a new member of the school committee and being not really very familiar with its functions and activities, I am highly impressed by the quality of its members and the passion for delivering a program that really serves the community well.
I think that the biggest praise I can give to Holyoke Public Schools, a lot of people have said this, but the commitment that the teachers have to their students. On the school committee, I've often, advocated for the well-being of the teachers. I think, and it for what they give a lot more than they get in our district, and they hang on to their students, and they make sure their students are successful, and it's truly amazing the committed staff that we have.
I have two hats. So speaking as a parent of a child going through the dual language program, it's just been really incredibly exciting to see my child develop two languages simultaneously, and to be excited about it as well. And looking through his math book and seeing it, in Spanish, and having conversations with him in Spanish, and just trying to get him to, embrace it even more. Like, he's just totally gung-ho into it. As a teacher, as an educator in the Holyoke Public School systems, I think that we have a lot of really strong commitments to multicultural education, to culturally responsive teaching, to, holding kids to high standards, to making sure that they're doing their absolute best. When the microphone comes around again, I think that it's also connected to some of the needs that it has, because I think that we make a lot of strong commitments and then kind of flail about how to. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, when it comes around again. So I think that the intentions are really well-founded. I think that they are really relevant and student-focused and family-focused, and that's a really good start, place to be.
So I just want to repeat what others are saying. As a teacher in Holyoke Public Schools, I believe strongly that how the care starting from kindergarten or even pre-K to high school level, how caring and dedicated. I've seen them. I'm a parent of students in Westfield, and it's just not even comparable, the care of the teachers.
Did everybody have a chance? No, people that are on screen. I have Natalia and Kathy. Natalia, do you want to go first? No? Okay, how about Kathy?
I go. So I want to say that for me, I believe what Holyoke is doing well in this past year, I would say probably this year, is that they implemented the PD for teachers every week. So the teacher has an opportunity to reflect and learn new skills to help better the kids. So I believe that's a plus for the school. And also, I should say that having the academies for the students to have the opportunity to, especially for the high school students, to earn their credits, that's really good, because not most of them can do summer school, and not all of them will have the opportunity to come to summer school too. So that's a plus too, that the district is doing well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I heard a lot of good things. I heard the word dual language over and over again, which is really cool, and I'm very impressed with that. I heard that the district leans heavily on its teachers to be who they are. My wife's a teacher. I get it. She works every night. She works on weekends. So there's a lot of dedication that goes with that. I heard somebody talking about partnerships that the school district has. I think that if I'm reading that right, the school district has a number of partnerships, and it would be good to make sure that they're all acknowledged at some level. I heard quite a bit about the diversity of culture, the diversity of the kids, the diversity of the parents, and that Holyoke is a place that prides itself on that, and I think that's incredible. I really like the sound of the idea of a small district, it's a small city, it's a small district. It's almost like a small town where you know lots and lots of people, and that's every time I come to an event in Holyoke, that is really clear. People, the way they greet each other, the way they talk, what they get done, the way they offer food to each other, all those things reflect a real positive. I heard a comment about how there was a previous person in the superintendent's role who really threw themselves into embracing, and I think that that's something that should be flagged, that you need somebody who is engaged and people feel are engaged, because otherwise they're just an administrator, just a bureaucrat, and who needs one of those? Then there was another discussion about relationships. Now, this isn't quite partnerships. This is more about the relationships between, say, you and your building, or you and your building, or however that works, and the interaction of the teachers and the kids in those buildings. And it has to be unique. Let me think. Let me see what else I wrote here. Sure. I'm trying to summarize. Oh, and then one other thing about the other piece that I heard was that there are ways that the teachers are being presented with ways to engage more, and I'd love to hear a little more about that, because I didn't really catch exactly what that was about.
Well, I wanted to add on, because when you were talking about the relationships like within school buildings, I've taught in other districts, I've taught in other cities, and the collaborative spirit between teachers, like the communal goals that we share and the way that we support each other. Coming from Amherst, coming from Northampton, I've taught in New York City. There's a competition between teachers that want to be the best. They want to have the best numbers. And between teachers, the teams of teachers, even if you're not like best friends with your team, you're working to the same goals. You're supporting each other. And so that's something that I find very unique, having experience in teaching other districts.
There's a new name on the screen, Anna. Did Anna want to talk about positive things in Holyoke here?
Eric, it's hard to hear you when you don't use the mic when we're on Zoom.
Thank you. Anna, would you like to speak? Did we lose her? We might have lost her here. Okay. I have her on my screen. I just don't see her over there. Okay, maybe Anna's coming in. I would like to hear a little more talk about how the collaboration, the relationships, all those pieces, just because I don't know a lot about it. I'm just really wanting to be more informed. If somebody can answer that, that would be great. By all means, this is critical to how you function as a district.
So the co-teaching, at least on the high school level, and I assume on the elementary and middle school level, the co-teaching component is huge, and it was very purposely done, and we did a lot of PD development on the co-teaching model, about having a co-teacher with each other, be it special ed teacher with a math teacher, and then additionally in English language arts, like a Spanish ELL, yeah, thank you, ESL, an ESL teacher with English language arts teacher, like I'm a shop teacher. We the co-teaching model is, it's just always been very, well, it hasn't always. It started when Dr. Zweig came. Dr. Zweig was the person that came in, and he's like was very moving forward with the co-teaching model. So us collaborating like that is just organically happening all the time because of that model that was implemented.
Somebody else want to comment on it?
So as a former teacher in the district, one thing I can say is we're always welcoming to our new educators, ensuring that they're comfortable. What do they need? You know, I started as a paraprofessional, then became a teacher, and then an ETL. And at every level, I was asked my input. I was encouraged to share. If I had an idea as a paraprofessional, you know, teachers wanted to hear it. I was a peer. I was not looked on, you know, differently. Teachers collaborate well together. It's, you know, let's be smarter and not work harder, I think is a great mindset that we have. So if a teacher has done something very well, they want to share that information with other educators, not just for the educators' benefits, but for the students' benefit. So there's been a lot of things going on. And I would be remiss if I didn't give Dr. Paez, who was before Dr. Reich, credit for walking into a district that had really horrific, and that's my mild term for it, standards and expectations for educators. He walked in, and I think everyone can remember the term, we have an ugly baby. And it was ugly. And he took the first steps as our district to create curriculum, a curriculum map to make sure that we had curriculum. Rather than teachers, oh, I think I'm going to teach this today because this is what my kids need, or this or that. And so I think we've come a long way. And I think our teachers collaborating with each other as well as with administration and is a positive.
I would say from the parent side of things, we notice it in things like the District Parent Advisory Committee, DPAC, because I think that one was created by Dr. Reich, but I'm not sure. We see, and it's a chance for not every individual school is just holding their own PTO meetings or whatever they want to call it at each school, but we're all getting together as a district too, and we're sharing and collaborating those ideas, but also the problems too, so that other schools, you know, we can kind of nip problems in the bud. If it happens at one school, you know, all the other schools are aware of it as well, and we can all collaborate and work together, which is awesome.
Is there anybody else at home who wants, or wherever you are, would you like to comment further? I think this last little section on collaboration and cooperation, I think, is critical. I think that I think it's a sign of a strong district if you have people talking to each other and not just showing up. So I think that that's critical. All right, now we're going to take on the less fun one, but it might be, it's certainly critically important. What do you think Holyoke could do better? What do you think are the challenges? What do you think are the problems? What do you sort of, if you could make up a top 50 list or a top 20 list or something like that? I know top 10 is overused, that's why I didn't go there. Where would you start? And we will be able to categorize, we will be able to get all this information because everything's being recorded, so we will be able to follow. I was asked at the beginning that since the interpreters need to be able to do their thing, if you could speak, not really, really slowly, but don't speak too fast, please. Yeah. Sure.
I want to make a protocol suggestion. Could you maybe have each person mention up to X amount of things, like up to 3, and then if people still have things that were not mentioned by someone else, sure, we do another go around to spread out the voice.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. All right, so who's going to jump in first?
Finances. It's very difficult in our district with the funding that we have to do everything that we know is the right thing to do. So I would say, and I'm going to, special education transportation, small buses need to be reviewed. That is a huge expenditure for our district. And we need to be thoughtful about how we're spending our funds and making sure that those students truly need that specialized transportation, because that funding could go somewhere else. I'm going to stop right there because I know many people have many more things.
So this is going to piggyback off what I said we were doing well. I said that we have very devoted teachers, and that is true. So I think that something that we can definitely improve on in this district is giving the teachers more, I guess, I want to say more of a voice and feel like they're being heard more on the way the district is running. You know, what's being taught in the classroom, how it's being taught, you know, just overall, they're the very core of the district. If you don't have teachers, if you don't have students, you don't have a school. So I think that we need to empower those voices and make them feel like they're being heard a lot more than they feel like they are right now.
This may be based on relative ignorance, but I think that there is, I perceive a need for a higher level of celebration of teachers. Not just recognition and support, but celebration of what they do. And I think also that there is probably a lack, again, my ignorance, of engagement in the community. I was around in the 80s when George Counter had a strong emphasis on going into the community and bringing them into the schools and celebrating people in the community who were champions of education and had contributions to make to the school district. I think that's relatively lacking at this point. I guess that's it for the moment.
Might come back around. Dr. Zreich's not coming back, first of all. And secondly, I think Dr. Sergio Paez probably deserves credit for the dual language program as well. And one of the things that I think we could do better, for sure, is, and that Dr. Paez initiated as well, is more opportunities for our kids. They need more opportunities to get out of their neighborhoods and to see Holyoke. And it doesn't even have to go outside of Holyoke. They need more opportunities for that. And it's piggybacking on what everybody else is saying. Yeah, great dedicated teachers, but we're losing them so fast. And we can't maintain it. We lose about 40% of our teachers and professional educators every year, ESPs, so got to do a better job.
Can you talk a little more about the opportunity that you were talking about?
I just feel like our kids, if a kid in Holyoke lives in South Holyoke or in the flats, they don't know that we have reservoirs available for them to hike and trails. I mean, they don't leave those neighborhoods in a lot of instances, and I feel like there needs to be more opportunities for the kids to get out and see the city. And I feel like, you know, everybody talks about the great community spirit we have. I don't feel like there'd be a lack of people who would contribute and volunteer to do things like that. So I just feel like Dr. Sergio Paez was reacting to what he saw as the needs of the community, and he did. I believe he's responsible for the dual language program and for a after-school soccer program that was initiated for kids at the middle school level too. So we need more of that for sure.
Understood.
Before I address what I was going to say, in the late 70s, early 80s, I was one of the directors of the Holyoke Youth Outing Club, and we took kids up to the White Mountains every year over Memorial Day weekend. And it wasn't just one, it was a multicultural experience. There were kids that have never been out of Holyoke that hiked the White Mountains, and it was just an incredible experience, so I can attest to that. Okay, so, and if I am misinformed, I understand. I think the latest educational journal that came out said that there is a growing disparity between kids who are up here and our underserved population. We have the scores in Holyoke are not what they should be. And I know Rome isn't built in a day, but things have to progress a little bit more quickly in order for our students to catch up. Now again, I don't have all the answers to that, but I am very concerned about that. The second thing is the school lunch programs, pardon my English, they suck. They're terrible. The kids throw away more than they take in. And you know, if you want to provide nutritional meals, you got to provide nutritional meals. And that's just an issue. The third thing, and then I'll shut up, is that there should be more consistency within a school as to what cultural events or things that are taking place. I had talked to one parent who said they pulled their kids out of the Holyoke schools because one year they would have this thing and then they would be looking forward to it and it would be canceled. Kids have to have something to look forward to. And if you keep changing that, you end up with a lot of disappointment. Okay, I'm done.
I've also got my list of 3. So I think the first thing is, while I think we all talked about diversity as being a positive, I actually don't think the district does a very good job of culturally relevant pedagogy or culturally sustaining pedagogy or whatever term you want to use. I think there's sort of these pockets or moments of multicultural celebration that are along the lines of like heroes, holidays, and foods, but I think it is not deeply embedded in the curriculum, in the and I think that, yeah, so I think that's one thing. And so I think an understanding of like, what is culturally relevant pedagogy? What does that actually look like as the foundation and not just like this add-on, like, oh, it's this day and that day. And also I think culturally relevant to a myriad, to everybody, right? I think when we talk about culturally relevant, it's often more than just, no single group is homogenous, right? And so even if you're celebrating one group, there is a lot of diversity within that. So that's point 1. Point 2, and this is from my researcher hat, is there's a lot of research available on many topics of education, and I don't think the district reads a lot of research or yeah, I'll just say that. And so I think that there are a lot of things where we're reinventing the wheel or we're pretending that Holyoke is so unique and nobody else has ever seen this problem before. And I'm sure there's no problem that Holyoke is seeing that somewhere else in the great world hasn't seen it too, and that they're probably scholars or people who've studied it, right? And I think there are lessons we can learn from other places. And then my third and last point is that I think Holyoke needs to look at the number of families who are choosing to opt their children out of the public school system and how much money we lose to the charter schools and to school choice. It is incredible. It is a huge number of children. And when we think about finances, I think that's something that we really need to look into, is like, why are all these families leaving? And what can we do to work on that?
Someone mentioned earlier the district's like priorities and commitments, and that they're a good start. So I think what I'm seeing is that the Holyoke Public Schools has many priorities and has difficulty deciding which ones to tackle first. And so we're tackling them all at the same time, and the carrying out of each priority trickles down to everybody in the building. So it means that teachers, aside from teaching, have to do X, Y, and Z. And so this has meant a lot more work outside of the classroom or outside of your school day. All these work to kind of move those priorities forward and provide data on them. And yeah, I think you can't do them all at once. And I think that is, you know, having an impact on the second thing I would bring up, which is teacher retention. People are burned out and overwhelmed and feel that they don't have the independence that they'd like to be creative or show passion. In some cases, I can't speak for everyone. And so I think our next leader needs to take, you know, that seriously, because we need teachers to have you know, to teach the students, to move everything forward. A past school district leader, not current one, someone who's not with us any longer, said to me, well, you know, there's high turnover in receivership districts. It is what it is. You know, my wife's a teacher and could never work in Holyoke schools. And I was very hurt that that was the viewpoint of that leader. I think if you felt like your wife as a teacher couldn't do this work, then all of us should be treated, all school staff should be treated like, you know, you have a reasonable amount of work, and we should never take teacher turnover as a given. You know, we should always want to do better. And then the last thing I think that we need to look at closer and do better on is special education, more individualized special education. I mostly see it at the high school, where I think that we could look at other research and case management models that are even in some of our neighboring schools, and see how outcomes are for special education students there, and perhaps alter our models in some ways.
Some of you guys of mine, so I have to think of other things that we could do better. I would say that the school needs to look at ways to have a better sustainability system when it comes with initiatives. So last week we were talking about all the laptop system and how that is not going to be sustainable in a long way. So I should say to be like cost effective. The district should look when they implement an initiative how to be like sustainable in that initiative. And my other concern that I believe the school should do put like better attention is the school absenteeism consistency in the ways they're gonna implement for students to be more effective, like coming back to school, not missing a lot of days, like how to word that better. And I also should say that implementing the school suspension, like I believe, me that work with a lot of the students, when the students are having suspension, they think that is a vacation, so they don't take it like real, like a real, I shouldn't use the word punishment, but like a consequence. Thank you for the word. Okay, thank you. Consequence. They're not seeing the real consequence for them to being suspended. So I should say that in order to have the students who have and think about their behavior and what they're doing is affecting their future and their school and everyone else in the school should look at, if suspensions is not working out, let's suspend this kid like within the school. Like you have a suspension in the school. Like I believe then, if something is not working, why we keep doing the same thing? So I should say, like, looking into that, it actually would change a lot of the things in the kids, like in the mindset, because if they see the real consequences of their actions and we are consistent in doing what we have to do, it's gonna change a lot of things.
Thank you. Point A for me would be communication. I think that we lack consistency across the schools when it comes to information around newsletters, phone calls, text messages, all things that are going out, facing the parents and the community. I think that it's different in all of the schools, and some parents and community members have access to more information than others, so that doesn't seem very equitable for me. I'm a great advocate for family and community engagement, so I'm going to talk about this tonight. As point B, I think that the district needs to do a better job in moving away from parental involvement, which is just attending an event, to what really family engagement is, which is seeing me as a parent, as an equal for making decisions in the school system, because nobody knows my kid better than I do. And I should be able to have a say when it comes to making decisions that are gonna affect my children, and being an advocate for the children of other parents that cannot be sitting in that table. So understanding that difference, and then building capacity for stronger parent voice. If you have a lot of parents that want to be a part of it, but maybe don't feel they have the resources to sit down in a meeting and talk, then let's build the capacity of those parents, but also build the capacity for the schools, because when you have parents coming into the school, the staff doesn't know what to do with those parents, right? So you also need to build the capacity of the school for them to be able to open the doors to those families who want to be a part of those decision-making processes. The school system have a family and community engagement team. I think that it's not in the strongest moment right now. I used to be a part of that team before. It has it's ups and downs, but if we really look into that particular piece of the district and how it embeds in everything else that we're doing, and if we don't use the parents as a resource to continue to do the work that the teachers are doing in the classroom, that the other staffs are trying to build in the school system, and we don't integrate that into what's happening at the house or the household, right? Everything is gonna fall. So we need to make sure that we're looking into how parents can be a part of that force that is driving the work, so it doesn't feel so heavy on the school side. I think we have some strong parent leaders that want to be a part of different initiatives across the district, and it's always the same ones. So we're trying to build ways for other parents to come and feel like they have a voice, and that it's a safe space. And I always see, I look at this group and I say, I heard Megan said, parents have the opportunity to know each other. I think that's true, but at some point, right now in this meeting, we have 3 parents from the same school, same grade level. Probably our kids know each other and have research together. And I don't even know you guys, and I think, there should be opportunities for us to connect, for us to know. Most of us, are part of different groups that are doing this exactly, having a voice for other parents, and how do we bring back that to the schools and for the parents who cannot attend these meetings. So I think that's a challenge there. It's a strength, but it's also a challenge because we need to be consistent with the way that we look into this topic, and then we embed it into systems that is sustainable and to continue, right?
Thanks. Josiah stole a lot of what I was going to say too. My 3 key points: number 1, communication also, but I was thinking of it in a different way, to communicate to the parents more about the family engagement opportunities so we can get better attendance at those kind of things. But also things like, someone over here said something about we're losing kids to school choice. I talked last meeting about I'm one of the few in my son's friend group who didn't school choice my son out. And a lot of their parents who chose to school choice out or send them to private school, which doesn't cost Holyoke money, thankfully, but they weren't even aware of the opportunities that their kids are missing out on. And when I told them about the HCC early college program and they went to find out what the schools they school choiced out to had, they were upset because now their kids can't do the same things that my son can do at HCC. So even just letting people know that these opportunities are available so that they're not sending their kids out only to regret sending their kids somewhere else. And silly things like, we should all be collaborating on every level, just so things like recently there was a post that blew up in, I hate the Holyoke forum on Facebook, but it comes up, and there was a prom or a dance or something that was going to get canceled, but a bunch of parents banded together and pulled it off and made it happen. So things like that just show us that there are parents out there who want to help, who want to get involved. We just need to communicate better to them. And then number 2 is collaborate. So collaborate better with them and get them more involved with the DPAC and other family engagement, but also with the community members that we've been talking about. Get the schools involved here with Holyoke Media so the kids know the opportunities they have here. Things like Homework House, different places in the city that these kids can go that are opportunities to them that I've found out on my own, but never once heard about through the school or through any of these school committees that I attend. And then lastly, consistency, like a lot of people said, between the schools themselves, and in events, like you said, you don't want to have the cookie with Santa one year and then no cookies with Santa the next year, but also with discipline and bullying. That should be consistent across the board. When things like that happen, you should know what to expect, how things are going to be handled, and it shouldn't be left so much onto the victim's parents to make the call. It's a very tough spot to be in as a parent. So that's all. Thank you.
What I was thinking, and somebody talked about it before, it was about teacher retention. I think we have amazing teachers here in Holyoke that are really committed to our district, to our students, but they end up making the decision of leaving the district because all these things that are happening in here. So I think that's one of my biggest concern, because one thing that Holyoke do great is training teachers. All these professional developments, all these trainings, and then who get the best teacher? Springfield, because Springfield pay more, you know? But teachers that are really committed to this district, we stay. And something that I was afraid to say last week, it was that I'm from Springfield. That was the town that my mom brought me, and I've been living there for 40 years. But I'm committed to work in Holyoke. Holyoke was the district that gave me the opportunity to grow as a professional, paraprofessional, outreach worker, teacher. I'm a dean of management and operation. You know, they sent me to Boston College to become an administrator. So I have all this opportunity. I want to stay here in Holyoke. I want to retire from Holyoke, because I feel that this is the city, this is the district that need me. So recognizing the teachers in here, and you mentioned it, we don't get a lot of credit. We always step on, and that's not fair. We're here in the school early hours. We go home late, and we always get blamed for all the things that are happening here. Also, curriculum, we got to stick with something for more than 3 years, and so that we can learn, become master, and then feel ready to go into the classroom and teach. Because this changing curriculum every 2 years, every 3 years, when you feel a little comfortable teaching in front of the in front of the classroom, there's something else, you know. So it's not fair for us, and it's not fair for our student. So I still believe that we are on the right direction. There's a lot of people that are committee. Stop hiring people from other places, you know. Believe in our teachers, believe in the people that are working here in our district, because there's a lot of smart people here. And I know that if we work together, we talk about collaboration, I think we can come up with a solution to these to the problems that we're having in our district.
One thing that I feel like should be improved on is the communication from the school to the students and families. I've seen countless people, like of my own friends, either just drop out of school because they need money to help their families, or just feel uncomfortable with the staff, or just in general, and they just switch to different schools. So I feel like that's very important. And I'm not, like, I don't want to take away from the importance of the teachers and not getting a recognition, but I feel like that's something else that's very important.
I feel like we need happy teachers and happy students. And that together is a school that everyone's happy to be in. Happiness is important. I don't think we talk about it enough. To get happy teachers, they have to be proud of the lessons they're teaching, and they have to feel effective teaching them. They have to feel like they have the support of administrators and counselors. They have to feel like what they're teaching has meaning, and they have purpose behind what they're doing. And they need to feel like there's enough time to do it all. They can't feel totally buried and bad and not able to do all of it. Or they just totally start feeling awful and they start giving up. If you have happy teachers in front of you who are like jazzed about the lesson and they're ready to go, kids are happy generally, because they're like with an educator that wants to be with them. Kids don't get the option. They need to be there. They're required to be in school. We have to make schools happy places to be so that they like the fact that they have to be there, right? That has to be the basis of it. Students, they need to be happy too, and they need to feel like we're investing in them, which means that the classes have to feel purposeful, and the teachers have to want to be there. And we need to keep, a number of things people have said, right? We have to increase the number of after-school programs, particularly at younger ages, right? Right now, there's not a lot in elementary schools that's consistent. It can be very different from school to school, what's offered, even in terms of after-school programming or what that programming looks like. We don't have a lot of outside partners that are being brought into our elementary and middle schools in order to run programming that schools feel like they don't have the capacity to run. Great, find someone to run a Lego club at every elementary school, right? Not one, right? We have some like kind of unique boutique-y programming happening that doesn't speak well to equity. We have to keep supporting athletics, the music program, the band, our amazing theater program, right? I looked at data from a report last week that one school, this was in New York, had only made one change for their level 1 MLLs. So they're multilingual learners, or EL students as people might know them. The only change they made was, we're gonna make sure that every single level 1 student is playing a sport or is in an after school club. And their gains were huge, because now they're in a team. They need to talk to everyone around them, right? They have a reason to want to keep practicing this language thing outside of school. And it was huge. So much of it is we have to keep investing in teachers and students so that they're happy.
Hasn't had a chance to speak.
My point actually goes well with the happiness part and the low scores. I think that in response to the lower scores of our students, I think there's like this huge push for academic rigor that then really robs the kids of moments of happiness. And the research part of it too, there's so much research about how much physical activity and socialization kids need. And they get 15 minutes for recess, you know, if they're lucky, not always outside. And it's heavily structured, and they don't have enough space to purely socialize and practice these social skills. We've been pushing social emotional learning. It's one of the other points that I said, we have all these initiatives. So social emotional learning and student well-being is a top priority. So let's just throw this curriculum at them once every couple of weeks, and you know, they'll know how to be good humans. Where if we can do those very minimal changes, allow more time for free exploration for the students. I mean, in like kindergarten, making sure that there's plenty of playtime, and that, you know, not this panic mode of, okay, well, we're going to throw skills at them so that they're ready for the MCAS when they get to 3rd grade. There's so much research around the importance of open-ended play and unstructured play. I think that we need to increase the amount of free time that students have within the school day, especially since there are not a lot of after-school activities and clubs. I spoke before about how happy my son is in elementary school. I have a daughter in middle school who's absolutely miserable. It's overcrowded. It's a revolving door of teachers. The facilities aren't great. And we're building this new middle school, which is going to be really exciting and spectacular for the students who go there. And they're like, and hey, Sullivan, you're going to get new windows, you know, like, aren't you excited about that? You know, so it's like this like really challenging, you know, dynamic that I just have within my own kids in the district. I have one who's really happy to go to school and one who's absolutely miserable. So I think that there's, you know, some real reflection that we can do on how we're treating the students. And I think that also the push for higher scores robs a lot of teacher autonomy and creativity, which then sort of diminishes happiness and diminishes the chance for us to know our students and to be able to give them relevant and useful information. I was a 1st grade teacher for years and years and years. I became an art teacher where there's no standardized curriculum. I'm not expected to be on page 47 on December 13th. And I'm so much happier. I'm building standards-based lessons for the kids, and they're happy and talking, and you know, it's been really nice to have that freedom within this district.
I think because everybody had great ideas, it's kind of hard to come up with new ones. But one thing that just really seems to bother me personally is the amount of management, administration. Every time it seems I turn around, there's a new manager, there's a new director of this, there's a new, you know, dean of this. It just seems we lost an ELL. They cut an ELL position this year. And we have this influx of students from all around the world coming into our school, and we're down an ELL teacher, and that just does not make any sense to me. But yet the administrators have tons of people doing their work, you know? So I think that that would be something to look into. And I don't know if I'm right or not. I just know that it just seems like there is an awful lot at the top and not at the bottom.
Let me see if I can, is there anybody else right here? Oh, I'm sorry.
And then maybe.
And then I was gonna see over, yeah.
Okay. So I wrote down some things. Just I agree with the teacher retention, and I don't want to be redundant about it. But I think a lot of the teacher retention piece that ties into the happiness piece is a business model that, because when I was working in the salon, it turned into, why are clients leaving, right? Why are clients not staying in the salon? And it has to be, the employees have to be happy to create the happy client. So same with the students. Teachers have to be happy in order to produce happy students. And if we're being micromanaged and we're having more PDs, irrelevant PDs, where it should be tiered PDs, it should be more of, what do you need? Okay, you're a first year teacher, you need this one, and you're a 10-year teacher, you need this, it's whatever. Or giving back some of our time, especially like on the Wednesday PD, giving it back to the teachers instead of checking a box. Oh yeah, we did this and we made sure they stayed busy. Busy work is not producing happy teachers. So.
Does anybody who's zoomed in want to speak?
Yes, I would like just to agree with letting kids be kids again through play and recess. And we cannot teach unhealthy kids. I think that should be one of the priorities to really look into it is, for example, the school meal in general, like scheduling and participation based on food waste. And I'm a big time believer a healthy kid and a happy kid will go to school without anybody telling them. Letting kids socialize is as important as learning. And I also want to say that to have a happy teacher, and I used to be an instructor, and I know this for myself, you need to have some time on some type of independency on the style, at least, that you're gonna produce in the classroom, because kids are also human beings, and chemical doesn't happen, like chemical among each other doesn't happen natural all the time. And you need to be able to kind of tweak curriculum, but keeping the curriculum. I agree, like standardizing curriculum, but giving you some flexibility in how the curriculum need to be delivered. And I think for what I heard from friends of mine who are still teaching and working in the schools, it's very hard because you need to kind of fit a particular, it's like a cookie cutter that everybody needs to do the same, because and not everybody naturally is an artist, a musician, and math teacher also for, and pretending is not real. And the kids are smarter than that. They know who is real and what teachers do it for real or for fake. And I think I'm gonna stop there. I think my ask is to let kid be kid again through play and recess and physical activity and nutrition, because we need healthy kids.
Thank you, Anna. Is somebody else on? Wait, Natalia, would you like to speak?
Yes, I agree with what everybody has said, and also cannot fathom how a school budget that's almost $118 million, something like 12 million goes to transportation, and yet the transportation that students have available to them to go to after-school programs and be picked up at those after-school programs does not exist. That has to be improved. Also, teacher salaries have to go up. I think the superintendent, who was newly appointed as school superintendent until searches gets underway, being paid $200,000 signals to me that the schools do have money to do better with the money that they have. And then that includes excellent, and somebody said that I'm emphasizing, the quality of the food that these students are given. Not even people in prison should get that kind of food. It is a scandal, the crappy food that students are served. And I know, because I work at Holyoke Media, a lot of the students from the Holyoke Public Schools, they arrive, they're hungry. They're hungry, and we provide them food. Why are they hungry? Because they ate crap at their schools. And I think the after-school sort of cultural enrichment, let's remember Eddie Casey, he's our patron saint, I get it. But let's be sure that a lot of it falls under these, let's give backpacks and notebooks and pens to the students. It's all under, the bands that play, they're all Christian. They all have a denomination, a Christian denomination. And I think that that should not be allowed. There should be a separation between church and state. Oh my goodness. My list is, there's so many, just to say, there's so many Puerto Rican students in the schools, I could not find 3 that know Puerto Rican history. They don't know Puerto Rican history because it's not taught as part of American history. Instead, we do this cutesy thing of like, oh, it's Hispanic Heritage Month, or it's Black History Month, or it's Indigenous History Month. No, this is all part of American history. Teach that. You want to be multicultural, then it gets embedded. It's not something that comes someplace else. There's enough money in this school system with $118 million to make sure that the parents get engaged, that they have people in the schools that can reach out to them, go to their homes, say, hey, we're having a meeting, we're having a parent conference. It's gonna be wherever it's gonna be. And there'll be food, good food, not that crap that their children eat. There are some radical things that need to happen in this school system for this to be a happy place for all people, both the students and the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
So I just had
Natalia.
Natalia, sorry. Did Anna want to say something? Because I know
Yeah, she already did.
she did.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure I would like. So a shift was that every principal is given a certain amount of money and they budget it themselves. They budget what they need for their school. And what I'm hearing is that it's not working in some ways because let's just say that the administration is now blamed for losing an ELL teacher when it might have been a principal's decision. Or the after-school program, there's no funding because the principal opted to fund something differently. So I think that while the thought process is there that the principal can have that autonomy, I think that there also needs to be a secondary look as to how things are going from school to school so there is continuity between each school.
Well, we're almost out of time for this. Go ahead. And what I was going to say is I can summarize pretty quick what I've heard, but go ahead and then I'll try to do that and then we can move.
On this issue of community and family engagement, this might be an issue of research, but let's not forget that this is the locality in the state with the highest levels of poverty and inequality. The disparity in income in these communities is extraordinary. The levels of poverty in the lower wards, at least until a few years ago, was the highest in the nation. So I think we need to better understand the impact of poverty and the relationship to education and the strategies that might take place to a better successful education.
Absolutely. Well, I can't quite read that. It says, too much observations on teachers and wonder how much observation of administrators is what Anna said.
So I ask for information from teachers, and I try to be their advocate. But then I hear, oh no, it's okay. Teachers are fine with the observations. They know it's okay. Oh no, we do this, we do that, we do that. And I know there's fear from educators from telling us how they really feel because they're afraid something's going to happen. You know, so I think, so I hear it from both sides, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to side with an educator who feels like they're being over-observed from living that experience and how it affects my teaching.
I think too the requests for feedback through like panorama surveys and exit ticket surveys, a lot of times they will say like, and I'm sure that they are anonymous, but then I remember I was at a staff meeting where they then listed the names of the people who had not yet submitted the panorama survey. And they're also set up for, like I remember there were certain combinations of answers that I would give that would pinpoint who I was if I answered all of the questions. So I think that even though there's this, like, we want your feedback, teachers, we want to hear from you what's working well, there's this underlying current of, but we'll be able to find out who said what. And so I think that there's that fear that's huge.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Well, that situation where asking for requests becomes nothing is happening, everything is fine, is the message that the administration wants to preserve. Because this is all about power. This is all about dominating and controlling the narrative. And I am the first to say the communication of the whole public school system is a fiasco. It's a joke, it's embarrassing, and it's a perfect example of how communication should not be. And I, as a member of the media, I challenge, I double-dog dare challenge the communication department of the whole public schools to do better, to do their job, and to utilize our resources to do the work that they are supposed to be doing, to communicate not only with parents, not only with families, not only with something that has been determined, it has to be said, then we say it. Oh, and by the way, let's do it in Spanish very quick. Everybody in the city should know what is going on at all times, even if you don't have kids in the schools. You are member of the community, and we all need to know what is going on. And we need to demand that communication to happen in this space, at the schools, having town halls. Because if we wait for them to allow teachers to say something, or for anyone to say something, this is what happens. Everything is fine. But we are still in receivership today. And things are still wrong. So I don't think things are fine. So do better. Do something, at least.
I don't want to hold anybody here past 5:30 if they want to go, but I know we're having a good discussion either, so. Do you want to be the last word over there?
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment in regards to when it comes to administrators, and I just want to say an experience that I had last year. I don't think that they have the capacity to create a safe space, not even for parents who are bringing concerns. Last year, we had a parent meeting with the leadership of the school that my sons attend, and I remember being there, wanting to be an advocate because I wanted to know stuff, and then next day he comes back home, Mom, did you talk in the meeting? The teacher knew everything that we've been bringing back home. So, you know, that there showed me that there's no clear way for the administration to create a safe space for students, staff, and families. So I just wanted to add that because, you know, it's a part of the conversation.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We got a lot of good information, and we will be summarizing, and then we'll move on to our next meeting, which is the
Before folks leave,
24th, I
I
believe.
just want to make sure that you should have received an email last Friday night that has the draft minutes of the first meeting. If you have any input on that, if there are any corrections, additions, deletions, please send them. I can stay for a minute to talk, but if you can send them, want to make sure we have the correct record, and we'll get them, the final, to be approved at the next meeting.